Good morning from a charming, if unremarkable, town in the south of Russia called Adygea. Looking at the map of Russia, I'd always been interested by this small, strange republic way down in the south called Adygea, and for two reasons. Firstly, it looks like a salamander. Secondly, it's fully surrounded by, enclaved within, another region, Krasnodar Krai. And these geographical oddities, enclaves and exclaves, are always a bit exciting for me as a geography nerd. So I had to investigate. The more I researched, though, the more interested I became. You see, Adygea is the homeland of the Circassian people, whose relationship with Russia has a long, fascinating, and tragic history, which we'll find out more about in this quest. I'm on my way now to the bus station. I'm going to jump on a bus, hopefully, to the region's capital of Maykop. Onwards.
Что-то стоит точка на скверная этот.
Хорошего дня.
Доброе утро.
А когда следующий в Maykop?
На 9 часов.
9 часов. Давайте один билет на этот автобус, пожалуйста.
До Майкопа, да? Паспорт.
Паспорт? Хорошо. Окей.
Великобритания, да?
Да.
Что-то у меня даже ее и нету тут. Господи.
Хорошо. Спасибо большое. Great news, guys. We have a Soviet mosaic. You can see that. There we go. We have Lenin with arm outstretched, indicating the heavy industry on the edge of the town. It's quite charming. And on the other side as well. You see here we've got the map of the region. You see there Adygea in green, fully surrounded by Krasnodar. So that's where we're going, Maykop. And then here's the second one, which is altogether less interesting. Amazing. Right, let's get on the bus. Welcome to Maykop. And the first thing I notice is if we go over here to the Vokzal, you'll see our first bit of Circassian language. Over here is in the Cyrillic Maykop, And then over here is the same name, but in the Adygea language. Maykop. Or, as a local would say it,
Maykop.
So there you go, that's our first bit of Circassian language. We've been greeted with a pleasing abandoned factory aesthetic, for which we are grateful. First task is to find a hotel, so we're just heading towards the centre now.
Robert, miattava aici, mi ceva uzmam na hazarin karulov yeruf tamaretank?
Это был адыгейский язык?
Армянский.
Армянский, интересно.
Я просто говорю, да, что пришли, и надо обязательно им сказать.
Alright guys, got a room here in Maykop. Be careful with your consonants on that one. And here it is, not too bad. 14 quid. A couple of beds. A tasteful still life. Check out the bathroom. Roomy. And the view. What do we got? Oh, we've got an unfinished breeze block wall. So yeah, chuffed with that. Gonna go off and explore Maykop now. Onward. Здравствуйте.
Здравствуйте.
Under Catherine the Great, the Russian Empire sought to extend its influence into the North Caucasus, and in so doing, of course, came to clash with many of the indigenous peoples of that region. On and off, the Russian Empire and the Circassians were locked in war for 100 years. Eventually, the Circassians were defeated, and after that military victory, the Russians sought to eliminate the civilian population, whom they had long regarded anyway as subhuman filth. In 1864, the Circassians were told to leave. Those villages which refused were pillaged, raped, slaughtered. The Ottoman Empire did agree to take in a limited number of Circassian families, but the Russians deported them en masse, dispatching them in overloaded ships on the Black Sea, or sending them on death marches along the Black Sea coast to Anatolia. For those who made it and did arrive, there was often no space, and they were held in vast quarantine internment camps in Turkey. Hundreds of thousands were slaughtered by the Russian army. Hundreds of thousands more drowned in the Black Sea or were struck down by rampant illness in the camps, or simply starved to death on the hopeless march to Anatolia. The Circassian population of Russia had been up to 1.5 million, but after the genocide, that number stood at just 70,000. I'm walking down a street called Zavodskaya ulica at the moment, which means a factory street, and I've walked pretty much the whole length of it, and there's a few factories, but they're not running anymore. One gets the feeling this city is pretty deindustrialized. You know, probably in the Soviet Union, the republics, the capitals of the republics would get a great deal of money from the central government in Moscow. But after the Soviet Union broke up, and Russia began to open up to international trade and started to specialise in some of the industries in towns like this, which were zombie industries really, well, they shut down, and the town kind of shut down as well. I don't know if any of you can read Cyrillic, but those words, they were ovoshi and frukty, which means fruits and vegetables. But they were written in sort of the old style. So that, I don't know if you can read Cyrillic, you'll know that at the end of those words was a letter called a hard sign, which we don't really use too much in modern Russian, but it was used more in the past. But there was a spelling reform, I think at the start of the 20th century, and they got rid of basically a lot of the hard signs from words. So now those two words, they're written with vowels in that last position rather than the hard sign. But you do see sometimes around Russia, they sometimes shopkeepers like to have their signs in the old style. I guess it's like, it's like a British pub having, ye old tavern or something with an E on the end, just to make people reminisce about the old times, which none of them saw because this spelling reform happened about over 100 years ago. But yeah, it's just a nice little oddity. Found a working factory on Factory Street. I can't quite tell what is being manufactured, but that's not looking good. It just seems to be coming out of the ground. Yeah, but there is industry in Maykop. Good news. What have we got here? Can you guess? It's a Lenin. A silver one, no less. Oh, guys, exciting. I think we have our second piece of Adygean language. The Russian there says "Ty v moim serce," which means "you are in my heart." So I presume that's what this says as well, which I don't know how the letters are pronounced in Adygea, but phonetically it's something like "sigu uui." There you go. That's only the second piece of Adygea I've seen since the train station. There you go. I notice just over here there's another delectable sight. There's a sign that says, well, I thought it said initially, "I love Maykop," but that couldn't possibly be it. It's Maykop and an apple. And the reason for that is that in the Adygean language, as I understand it, Maykop means Valley of the Apple Trees, which is quite charming. It's quite generous as well. It reminds me of Almaty in Kazakhstan, which I think means Land of the Apples or Apple Town or something like that. Anyway, hope that information comes in useful. Guys, I think I see over the road our first view of traditional Adygean garb. Trad garb. There it is, over the road. Let's cross. And there we have it. And the inscription is in Adygea as well. There we go. Oh, very dashing. Fur hat. Yeah. Cool. Haven't seen that yet on the streets, but I don't know. Maybe we'll get out to a village tomorrow. Maybe we'll see something like that. That is a Maykop donkey, an Adygean donkey. Здравствуйте. I'm in the main square of Maykop, and the centrepiece is this, the Mosque of Maykop. And many of you might not associate Islam with Russia, but in the south, Islam is prevalent, and the further east you get, the more dominant it gets, all the way to Dagestan. Historically, the Circassian homelands stretched over hundreds of miles in the northwest Caucasus region, and that put them into contact with other Islamic societies until in the 17th century, under the influence of the Crimean Tatars and the Ottoman Empire, the Circassians converted to Islam. The Russian government has always, as a matter of policy, denied the Circassian genocide. This monument in the park is probably as close as you'll get to anything commemorating it. You can see on top the 12 stars. Each of those represents one of the original Circassian tribes. What I find interesting about this monument is its proximity to another monument just the other side of the mosque, because on the other side of the square is this monument, and there are two things to note. The date on the top, 1557, is the year where a marriage agreement was signed between Ivan the Terrible and the daughter of a Circassian prince, and at the bottom the inscription in Russian says Navyeki s Rossiei, meaning forever with Russia, as if to suggest that the relationship between Russians and Circassians has been ancient and chummy and has passed more or less without incident, and it will be great into the future as well. I find the composition of this square very interesting, and I think it's absolutely no accident that we have these two monuments so close to each other. And I think it's very illustrative. It tells you a lot about the modern relationship between Russia and Circassia and Circassian people. Some might call it Great Russian chauvinism. I think I'll let you make your own mind up about that. But I think it tells you a lot. Morning. Despite all we've said about Maykop, and despite it being the region's capital, this isn't really an Adygean city. You see, most of the population here is ethnically Russian, and that kind of explains why you hear very little Adygean spoken on the street and no signs of Adygean except the official ones. So today we're going to jump on a bus to a village where they speak Adygean. And most of the settlements where they speak Adygean are villages and small towns scattered throughout the region. So we're going to hopefully get down to one of them, meet some Adygean people, hear some Adygean language. Yeah, it should be fun. Onwards.